Hopefully it's just people getting their balls ripped off. What are we doing? Why is this a video? Let's carry on. I don't know if it's just me getting old, but people seem to be getting more and more stupid. Yes. Get off my lawn! This is Dave who wrote this. I would never think that. I think that young people are smarter than they've ever been. Definitely less cringe than they've ever been. Just perfect. Thank you for watching. Dave writes it. I read it. It's the format of the show. It's cringe. I can't open up my news website of choice without seeing at least one story about how somebody had their head knocked off while trying to lick a moving train, bungee jumped off a cliff using only elastic in their underwear, or was ripped apart by a polar bear, all in the pursuit of an elusive viral TikTok video.
I'm sorry. What? Come here. What kind of bear did that?
I don't know if those are true, but it does say something that I'm not sure. Of course, it is possible that people have always been this stupid. It's just that there are many more opportunities to spread the word, as it were. Thinking about it, though, and I've been thinking about it a lot recently. Well, it's good. This is what I pay you to do when you write this script. I don't think this is the case. While everybody had that stupid friend who was prepared to do anything for a reaction, if you didn't have that friend, then it was you. I truly believe there is a very real addiction to having your ridiculous behavior watched by millions of people. I don't think there's something... What did Dave describe it as? Addiction? I don't think there's an addiction to people, to having millions of people watch your ridiculous behavior. I think there's an addiction to millions of people watching you. Like, that is compelling. And it really is something. You're like, whoa, holy shit. And I don't think it matters if it's ridiculous behavior or stupid fact videos. Either way, it's pretty addictive. There's nothing like working from a cafe, is there? There's the atmosphere, there's the coffee, there's the public Wi-Fi. Wait a minute. Public Wi-Fi? That sounds dangerous. Well, good news. Today's video is sponsored by Surfshark, who will keep you safe on that public Wi-Fi. You can sip your latte or whatever you want to drink. What's those fancy drinks? Frappuccinos? One of those? Yes, you can't make that at home, can you? I mean, maybe you can, but enjoy it. What? This is an advert for Surfshark, not for coffee. Get it together, Simon. Basically, if you're on a public Wi-Fi and it's unsecured, you could be exposing yourself to bad hackers, etc. And that's why Surfshark VPN is absolutely essential. It masks everything you do online, keeping your personal data secure and private. So, no worries about those snoopers anymore. No worries about those hackers. Plus, if you've got Netflix in your country and you're like, a bit bored, I've watched all the thousands of shows they have, or more likely you just know that Netflix has a specific show that you want in another country, hop on over to that country and voila, there you go. Access granted. Plus, Surfshark helps you snag the best deals online by changing your virtual location, and it's super easy to use. They've got loads of extra features as well, like multi-hop for extra security, and it's just all the perks. None of the hassle. Plus, one subscription, unlimited devices. So head to surfshark.deals/Blaze and use the promo code BLAZE for 4 months extra. Stay safe out there, everybody, and now back to today's video. I understand this addiction largely because I kind of have it myself. Never in my wildest dreams would I ever believe that I'd be lucky enough to land a job where I could not only tell the ridiculous stories from my past, but also get paid for it. The buzz I get knowing that at least 100,000 people every week tune in and listen to what I have to say is indescribable. Still, nowadays I'm just like, yeah, standard. Par for the course. No one life. Obviously, I'm fully aware that only about half of these people agree with what I have to say, but pissing off the other half also provides joy. I guess what I'm trying to say here is, although everyone who features in this episode is a complete idiot, I sort of understand how they ended up doing what they did. Anyway, enough of my philosophical ramblings, let's get down to it. Darwin Awards TikTok edition. Let's go. Let's see how the kids are killing themselves. It just became grim. Okay, let's carry on. I mean, maybe they just had their balls ripped off. It doesn't have to be about death. It's just taking yourself out of the gene pool. So that's what we can hope for. Hopefully, it's just people getting their balls ripped off. Or their dicks eaten. What are we doing? Why is this a video? Let's carry on. Rilo Hunt Show. Full disclosure, depending on which news articles you read, this may have taken place on TikTok or Instagram. However, the guy in question was active on both, so I'm choosing to include his story. I'm not exactly a firearms expert, but I think the following advice would be pretty self-evident to anybody. If you're using a gun as a prop in a video, then you are probably better off using some sort of replica. Failing that, if you absolutely have to use a real gun, you should definitely make sure that you have removed any live ammunition. How about just don't use a real gun. Just make that a rule. Like, if you don't have a prop gun, no gun at all. Easy. Or go down to, Tesco, go to the water pistol aisle, buy a water pistol that looks like a gun. Go to the paint aisle, buy some black spray paint. Bada bing, bada boom. Done. People will think you're going to rob a bank, but just tell them you're making a video. Or just use self-checkout, then you don't get the judgmental stares from the checkout person. Had Rilo Huncho paid attention to this advice, he may well have gone on to have a successful career talking quickly over music, or rapping, as I believe kids call it today. So what happened? Apparently, Huncho, if that is your real name, was streaming some sort of live performance from his bedroom while simultaneously waving around a handgun and demonstrating its fancy laser sights. According to an article in the Daily Mail, he then took control of the grip, appeared to shut off the safety, and pointed the gun to his head before saying words I definitely can't say right now, but yeah, and pulling the trigger. Presumably this was supposed to bring his performance to a dramatic end. And it did. Unfortunately, it was much more dramatic than he had originally planned. The gun went off, the phone fell from his hand, and he died almost instantly. Wait, it sounds like he kind of intentionally did this. Now, I've conflicted feelings about this. Obviously, it's a tragic story in which a young man who people tell me had huge potential needlessly lost his life. On the other hand, I simply do not understand how somebody could be stupid enough to do this. Wait, this feels intentional. The very point of a gun is that it is dangerous. How can people not know this by now? That's the end of the entry. Oh god, it's just someone shooting themselves in the head. Oh no. Sheik Ali. During my teenage years, one of the many stupid things my friends and I would do is jump off things into the sea. Oh dude, totally, it's so fun. Like cliff jumping and stuff, just jumping off massive cliffs into water. It's a vibe. This started one exceptionally hot day as we walked across the bridge connecting Hayling Island to Langstone Harbour. Absolutely mean nothing to me, Dave, and also everyone else. Unless they live where you live. I've forgotten where Dave lives. On the way to one of the pubs that we knew didn't bother checking trivialities like ID, one of my friends, I forget which one now, suggested that since the pub was on the other side of the island, that there was an exceptionally strong current heading in that direction, if we were to dive off the bridge, we would probably end up at the pub in much less time than it would take to walk there. Bro, yeah, but you're going to be sopping wet. Although this turned out to be true, the level of physical exertion required to escape the current and actually leave the sea in order to get to the pub rendered most of us incapable of drinking. Almost. Looking back on this now, and knowing that had waterproof camera phones and TikTok existed, we would have surely documented our idiocy. Were it not for the fact that we were all exceptionally strong swimmers, we very well could have gone the way of Sheik Ali. So, what did he do? Quite simply, he and a friend jumped into the Jhelum River in Pakistan in the province of Punjab, while a third friend recorded them for a TikTok video. While several sources allude to there being a point to this, by which I mean a point more worthwhile than simply doing something stupid to gain millions of views, nobody seems particularly forthcoming with what that point was. So I'm forced to conclude that there wasn't one. Yeah, there doesn't have to be one. It's just people like jumping into the sea. I've been caught in currents a couple of times. And I'm also a strong swimmer, but it's scary, dude. You just I remember once I was just swimming in the sea, and I'm like, oh, fuck, man, that beach is really far away. And you just gotta be cool. You just gotta be cool and swim at that angle, right? Because it's all going like this. You just swim, not directly towards the shore, but just kind of at an angle or whatever. And I was just swimming for ages, dude. Just, but I was young and fit and healthy. And when I was a kid, I did that life-saving qualification. I was qualified as a lifeguard. Never was a lifeguard, but I did the course. Pretty good swimmer. But yeah, it's still scary. Although jumping into any fast-moving body of water can potentially be fatal, Ali had a particularly debilitating handicap, which you might have thought would dissuade him from participating in the stunt at the time. That's right, Ali could not actually swim. According to the only news article I was able to find on the subject, which has been copy and pasted to so many places that the original may have been lost forever, for the record I copied it from Yahoo News, quote, Ali's friend knew how to swim and was able to make his way out of the river, but shortly afterwards, Divers of Rescue 1122 and Assistant Commissioner PD Khan Miramorad Nekakara reached the spot and started an operation to retrieve the body of the man. Much like the last entry, this is a tragic story, but there's no way he couldn't have known that he couldn't swim before he attempted the stunt, is there? No, what are you doing? Like, don't go swimming in dangerous areas if you can't swim. Stay in the shallow end of the pool with the children. What are you doing?
Also, why can't you swim?
Indian man known as Vicus. Anyone who grew up in the UK will most likely have been subjected to those horrific railway safety videos. Don't remind me. This is always the one. Don't step on the third rail. This is Jeffrey. He stepped on the third rail. It's just like a dude. He's got like half his face melted off, and you're like, we're exploiting Jeffrey, but also,
Stop it.
These videos, not dissimilar to the ones that tell you that you will be haunted by the ghosts of your family if you don't change the battery in your smoke alarm, were designed to scare the out of any small child who even thought about playing near the railway. They either didn't have videos like this in India, or the draw for TikTok success is powerful enough to override the message. At 4 a.m. on an undisclosed date in early 2020, Vickers and a group of his friends, allegedly fueled by alcohol, decided they had an awesome idea for a video. After making their way to train tracks in Panapat, Haryana, Vickers decided to get as close as possible to the overhead power line by climbing one of its supporting poles. What could you possibly think? Like, this is not what I thought. I thought, oh, he accidentally steps on it, he gets hit by a train, something like that. He climbs the electrical pole for the overhead wires. Are you batty? You know, because pole climbing makes riveting viewing. According to reports, he got too close to the 25,000 volt DC power line, and approximately 25,000 of those volts were transferred directly to him. As soon as this happened, his friend decided that making TikTok videos wasn't cool anymore and immediately fled the scene. Tragically, his body remained hanging from the power line for about 2 hours before a passerby reported it to authorities. Although he was transported directly to the nearest hospital, I assume this was only to take advantage of the morgue facilities, because reports claim that he would have been killed instantly. Good lord, of course he was. That's nuts. I thought there's videos on YouTube, or at least there were back in the day. I just had completely forgotten about this, where people will lie down on train tracks. So you got like the tracks running like this, and people will lie down like super flat, like underneath, and have a camera like in front of them, and then the train will go over them, and you're like, you are insane. Like, they survive, they're just like underneath the train as it goes over them. It's gotta be terrifying. Unnamed Indian factory worker. Among the plethora of machinery in my workshop, there is a rather large air compressor. While this currently gets used for nothing more exciting than inflating bike tires and will eventually be hooked up to a sandblasting rig whenever I find the time, a similar compressor in the workshop of a friend of mine was often used for, shall we say, more experimental purposes. What are you doing with an air compressor?
Hold on.
Once a month for about a year, we'd all assemble at Big Fat Rob's house, bring a case of beer, and something that we wanted to explode. Throughout the evening, these items, basketballs, inflatable chairs, inner tubes, etc., would be hooked up to the compressor and filled with air until they exploded. It was kind of like the reverse of the hydraulic press channel. Unbelievably, and tragically, some guys in India who were in possession of an industrial airline, a mobile phone, and a TikTok account decided to go much further. I'm assuming an industrial airline is a piece of, like, piping rather than some sort of, you know, like Virgin.
What?
Or like BA. As the story goes, and I must admit that I've got the majority of this story from a Reddit post and a small article from a local newspaper that I had to translate into English, so I can't absolutely guarantee its validity. After carrying out similar experiments to the ones that me and my friends did, they quickly became bored and decided to up the ante a little. Where the fuck are we going? If they stick this up their bottoms. I can see the future! I don't know why I'm thinking that's going to happen, but I really hope it doesn't. Why am I thinking this? Let's just move on. For those of you with a certain type of mind, you could probably guess where this is going. No! For the rest of you, I explain. One man decided to find out what would happen if he put the airline up his arse. Bro! What? Now I have absolutely no idea what he was expecting to happen. Perhaps he envisioned his rectum filling with air and being able to produce farts the likes of which the world had never seen or heard before. Sadly, this isn't what happened. It's a fucking industrial air compressor. What the fuck do you think's gonna happen? Given that the air compressor in question was allegedly rated to 6,000 psi, which is insane, the air immediately caused massive internal damage. Although, unlike in the last entry, his companions rushed him to the nearest hospital, he's reported to have died 15 days later. Whether or not the guy did this to himself or had the friend pull the trigger remains unclear. However, I'm inclined to think that he must have done it to himself, although there would have probably been some pretty significant legal ramifications. Dude, No doubt. Although this is the kind of thing, like if they're young enough or whatever, there's like, in English law, there's something called horseplay, where it's like, oh, you're just playing around and you accidentally kill one of your mates. And they're like, oh, it's horseplay. It's not even manslaughter, it's just horseplay.
You think I'm majestic, I don't fucking care. Well, ladies, check out my hoot song.
Indonesian teenager. In my opinion, if hell exists, which it probably doesn't, there will be a special part of it for people who do things like the next challenge. Taking your life into your own hands to get your 15 seconds of internet fame is one thing, but when you start doing things that can destroy the lives of others, it's an entirely different scenario. This is like people who throw like bricks off bridges onto cars and stuff. Psychos. Allow me, if I may explain, I think I read in one of the original Darwin Awards books or websites or on Reddit or whatever, that someone was one of these idiots. They were like pushing like concrete or whatever off a bridge onto cars because psychos. But one of them had a piece of like that, is it rebar? What's the metal, like reinforcing metal that comes out of it? This is such a grim story, but it is Darwin Awards. You know what you clicked on. And he's pushing it. He's got this one. It's got the piece of metal sticking out of it. He pushes it off, but it catches him in his trousers and rips his balls off.
Everything you say to me is pissing me off.
So he got the Darwin Award, and he deserved it. Allow me, if I may, to introduce to you Malaikat Maut, more commonly known as the Angel of Death Challenge. The idea behind this challenge is simple, much like the participants. Basically, you find yourself a road along which large trucks travel at high speed, and you wait. When such a truck draws near, you leap out in front of it and attempt to get out of the way before being hit. I am lost for words with how insane this is. Although many oxygen thieves have been expunged from the gene pool while participating in this challenge, I'm going to focus on an 18-year-old from Indonesia purely because his story is the one about which I was able to find the most information. In Tangerang City, Banten, on the 3rd of June 2022, he and 2 others decided to improve their online standing by attempting this ridiculous and selfish challenge. According to a tweet from the official account of Tangerang City, while 2 of the boys managed to get away from the fast-moving vehicle, an 18-year-old was hit by the 8-wheeled truck. He rolled under the vehicle and was instantly killed. Whilst this was undoubtedly upsetting for his family, the real victim in this case, and indeed in all other such cases, for there are many, is the driver of the truck. It's going to be traumatizing. You asshole. Because I know you're dead, but you're an asshole. Because of this person's thoughtless actions, that driver will have to live with the fact that, albeit inadvertently, they killed someone. Even though they are not to blame in the slightest, the human brain is rarely so logical when it comes to stuff like that. I imagine the sight of that idiot disappearing under the front of his truck will haunt the poor guy for the rest of his days. And on that exceptional downer note, it's time for me to bring this episode to a close. Given that this episode started out dark and ended darker, I'll actually be genuinely surprised if it makes it out into the public domain. No, it's going out. It'll be definitely age restricted or some shit. Unfortunately, although the concept of the Darwin Awards often lends itself to a bit of humour, fame chasing has a propensity to bring out the worst in people, so I've done my best with what was available. Sometimes, life is dark. I sincerely hope that whatever I write next is a bit more fun for everyone involved. I'll tell you what you wrote next, Dave, because I think it's right here in my teleprompter. Recent scams that people fell for. That's what we're doing next! I don't know if the next video you see, almost certainly not, dear viewer, but that's what you wrote next, Dave, I think. So, that was lighter. Thanks for watching! Bada bing, bada boom. Done.